Uganda Eyenkya.
Yes, we do welcome you, Mr. Tony Butali, the co-founder of Safari Share. Briefly, I would love you to first salute or say hi to our viewers of Uganda Eyenkya, then we go straight forward.
Okay, hello Uganda Eyenkya. As Moses has said, my name is Tony Butali, and I wish you nice viewership.
Very good. I don't know whether COVID-19 is affecting you the same way like it is doing to other people, or just because you're an essential worker, it hasn't affected you so that much?
COVID-19 has affected everyone in a positive and negative way. It is entirely up to you to take the positive out of any bad situation or to dwell on the negative, because the negative will always be there in life. So yes, COVID-19 has affected me, but I'm trying to be very positive.
Very good. For starters, how has it affected you?
Movement.
Okay.
It is hard to move. All of the plans we had planned for Safari Share, for example, are on hold. We had planned to do a massive campaign where people can start sharing their rides, but now it is difficult because cars are not moving.
Briefly, one would love to at least get some more details before we go into how it has affected your sector. Briefly, more about Safari Share, because I know some of those actually viewing this video didn't manage or didn't get a glimpse of the other previous video we made, which is in thousands. You can actually briefly explain to them what Safari Share does and everything about it.
Safari Share is a car sharing platform. Instead of driving an empty car from one place to another in any part of this country, you can actually post your ride and share with other passengers. These passengers will pay you some money, which is not for, let me use the Ugandan word, special hire, but which is instead cost share. So this money which they pay you goes towards your fuel as a driver. Now the beauty with Safari Share, it is not an app which you just download and start using straight away. You download it, you have to register, attach all the valid identification documents, and wait for those documents to be vetted and approved before you actually approved to use the application. So we take care of the security of both the driver and the passenger service. So in brief, Safari Share is an alternative to public transport. Why should someone moving to any part of this country first enter Kampala city before going to any other destination? If you stay in Mukono and you want to go to Gulu, why should you come to the park when you can pick a car in Mukono which is going straight to Gulu? So there is no need for you to use so many, say, taxis or buses before you reach your destination. You can always search and find a private registered car on our platform which is going that same destination and which is passing near where you are. So that is briefly about Safari Share.
You as the Safari Share co-founders or the founders of Safari Share, how have you been affected by the pandemic?
We have been affected negatively for now, but I believe as we go on, this will turn out to be a positive period or phase in the development of Safari Share. People are now home, and from home, you don't want to be squeezed in a taxi. You want to find a private registered car on the Safari Share platform which can comfortably take you to any destination in this country. So while we have been hit negatively, but for us, we are looking at this phase as a positive phase for us to reorganize. Because from this pandemic, people don't want to go and fight for taxis in the parks, in the bus parks. People want to find a private registered Safari Share car, for example, which is in Mulago and is going to Luwero. Instead of me boarding a taxi from Mulago to the park and then from the park to Luwero. I can actually search for a car which is passing around Mulago or which is next to me in Mulago and going to Luwero. So we are looking at this as a positive phase. People need to change the way they have been doing things,
Okay.
mostly in the transport sector. Taxis, for example, have been piling people just like Kasaba in taxis. Now, how are we going? You see, I will give an example of Japan. Japan is next neighbors China, but then Japan has not been as hard hit as other countries, yet they are neighboring China. It is because of their lifestyle. The way they do things is different. Japanese are known to be very clean people. Even when they go to watch football in stadiums, they always pick the rubbish. If you have watched the World Cup, any match which involves Japan, immediately after the match, they come with their bin bags and pick all of the rubbish and take it out. They wash hands. They have always used masks, unlike us Africans. So it is very easy to tell them about social distancing. After all, they have been practicing it already. People here have been given, I should say, a lot of freedom. And this freedom needs to be in a positive way. But you see, sometimes too much freedom can be negative. You have seen, for example, water at the entrance of supermarkets, and people are walking into supermarkets and are not washing their hands. The other day I was washing hands at the supermarket entrance, and then two ladies looked at me. He's like, "Eh, that gentleman must be having corona. Look at the way he's washing his hands so well." You see, the reality is upon us now. Because I was actually following all of the steps of washing what? Of washing hands.
And they saw
and then they saw and they were
an
like,
experienced corona victim.
this must be a corona victim. And I found it. Ugandans can be so mean. So immediately after, I watched them to see how they were going to wash their hands. And they just poured water and did this and just walked away. Meaning, they are entering a supermarket. Imagine if they had COVID, God forbid. And they keep sampling things on the shelves and touching this bread. They check the expiry date, they put it back. That's how we can transmit the what? Disease. So we need to change the way we do things.
Very good.
Supermarket people, I mean, if we are washing hands, let us all wash hands the way they are supposed to be washed. Make sure that every part of your hand has soap. And we need to learn that because we have a very not so good culture. I don't want to say bad culture. Our culture is not very good when it comes to things like hygiene, when it comes to things like social distancing. People, when I will give you an example. When someone is going to buy avocado, someone will keep pressing the avocado to see which one is ripe. To me, that culture is wrong. When someone is going to buy bananas, they call them yellows here. When someone is going to buy menvu, they keep pressing the bananas to see if they are ripe. Yet they want to test with the hands, and that's a problem in Africa. So my prayer is when this pandemic is history, I know it will be history, we also adapt. We change our culture. We change the way we have been doing things. When it comes to hospitals, you see, when you go to hospital and you have flu, don't sit next so close to the other person. Leave at least some distance. And whites have been doing all this, but then they have been hit hard. So some Ugandans will say, it is God's will. But we are going there. We are going to get there. I'm going to actually try to give some reasons why I think Corona hits whites or those developed countries more than us, Ugandans. I want you to note that these are my personal views.
Very good.
Yes. According to me, that is what I think.
Very good.
Why? Because I have lived in a developed country, not one. So I know how their lifestyle is, and I know the lifestyle of Ugandans here. But then I will give some, I will try to show some evidence and see maybe someone out there can pick it up
Okay.
and try to look a little bit deeper and see if this makes sense. But these are just personal opinions.
So, still discussing the issue of social behaviors, how we do behave, or how we've been behaving in the past in regards to different things. Do you think we are to adopt this behavior of social distancing, actually different behaviors which have been brought up by COVID-19? Do you think our Ugandans or our fellow Africans are ready to adopt to those behaviors as compared to the past?
You see, until something bad happens, people struggle to actually change their past behaviors. People can only learn from experience. I will still give the example of the Japanese. The Japanese, when they go to other countries, they remove their masks. Why? Because they fear being the opposite of that culture. When the Japanese actually go to American universities or UK universities, they tell them that, you know what, here people don't use masks, because if you use a mask you will actually face discrimination, because people associate masks with the people who are sick. Like when you put on a mask, it shows you are sick, and that is wrong. You put on a mask so that you don't contract another illness. So talking about Ugandans adapting, it is not going to be an easy step.
Okay.
But we have to put an effort to force people to adapt. Japanese never suffer a lot from communicable diseases because naturally it is in their DNA. They practice social distancing. Even when they go on trains and buses, they will be in a line and they will leave a gap in between. But here you can find 10 people fighting to enter a taxi which carries 14 people. And they know it very well, but then they still fight. And you see, that culture is not easy. It is not something you can just wake up and change.
In a month, in a week?
In a month or no. It is something which takes time. But then if you are consistent, now that is the biggest question. If you are consistent, then you can achieve it. So the biggest problem we have in Africa sometimes is leadership.
Okay.
As for example, as you approach elections, you tend to relax most of these measures or infringements. But immediately after election, you want to act all tough. Even towards elections, let us be consistent, because you are going to have, say, elections every 5 years. Now, the issue of, say, vendors on the streets. As we go towards election time, we know very well that the vendors will be allowed to roam freely. Then immediately after elections, for 1 or 2 years, we become so tough on the vendors. So the vendors are also used. They have in a way understood that this is how Uganda operates. After all, after 1 year, we shall be back. Let's keep running around and running around. Elections are around the what? The corner. And when elections are around the corner, people will say, it is time to make money. No police officer, or no LODU, or no I'm a person, or KCCA enforcement officer will touch you.
Very good, Mr. Tony. To further discuss the impact of politics, by the way, because there are some things of which the citizens do adopt in regards to how the leadership or the leaders actually do behave as well. Do you still believe that, of course, amidst this pandemic, we shall be actually still affecting the same problems because of leadership?
Moses, leadership is very important in the development of any nation. Even in the smallest unit in the world is a family unit. If you don't have good leadership in a home, there is a problem. Because it is leadership which will drive strategy, and it is strategy which will spur on development and growth. So when you talk of leadership in Africa needs to improve. Uh, we are dwelling so much on political posts in Africa. We are creating so many political posts. To me, as an economist, as an innovator, these political posts, most of them are actually not productive. I'll give you an example. Recently, you have seen in the news, Uganda has 191 ambulances, government ambulances. And we know that a good number of those ambulances are not functional. We have over 125 districts. I think there are 134. We have over 400 MPs. Now, ask yourself, does the quantity of MPs improve the quality of the debate in parliament? Does it mean that if we have 1,000 MPs tomorrow, we shall have better laws? That is where leadership comes in. At the end of the day, the truth of the matter is we need to tone it down. Now, a country with 191 government ambulances shouldn't be looking to creating 15 more cities. Meaning in the next 3 years, we shall have 16 cities. And if we are not careful, you'll find people eating rats, asking for cities. And before you realize, you have more cities than functional government ambulances. So the leadership needs to address these key factors. We need to reduce on, I think we need to reduce on these political posts. I always tell people, even if you feed a goat, it can never be a calf.
True.
It can never be a cow. It can never be a bull. So what is happening is we are ending up baptizing goats, cows. And to me, that is bad. That is very dangerous. Because the cow wants to behave like a cow can never behave like a goat. And you are baptizing a goat a cow. Even if you fed that goat, it can never be what? Now we are thinking, we are saying that all of these cities which are coming up should have an international airstrip which connects to other countries. But we know very well that most of the people who fly in this country actually stay around Kampala. Are you going to tell me that an international airplane will fly, for example, from Canada to an airstrip in Hoima? The question is, how many people in Hoima can actually connect to this what? To this flight? People will prefer to fly to Entebbe because majority of the people actually stay around Kampala. You are not going to tell me that someone will fly to Soroti and then board a bus or take a car which will spend 5 hours or 6 hours or even 10 hours on the way to come back to Kampala. So I think we should be slow, and these need to be clearly addressed. We already have so many districts, in my opinion, and they haven't necessarily improved the productivity. They haven't contributed much to the GDP because our resource envelope is very strained. Before you even bring in other factors, our resource envelope is very what? Is very strained. We know we have districts which don't have secondary schools, which don't have government hospitals. So we should tone down on creating more political posts, because already our budget is, a lot of it is going to the running of these political posts.
Very good.
Uganda Eyenkya.